A while ago, I recorded some thoughts about the Pentax K1, the first impressions, and especially compared to the Nikon system that I was using at the time. I've now used it professionally in Miami, in Paris, in London, and in Barcelona, and I'd like to give some further thoughts about the camera and how it's got on. And what I found was that I was using the Nikon D610 a lot more than the Pentax K1. And the reason for this was the autofocus and the flash. The autofocus on the Nikon is a lot better, it's more reliable, and it's faster than the Pentax, even though the camera is older. And the Nikon flash is worlds ahead of the Pentax. The ability to use a TTL flash from Nikon, from one of the other manufacturers, such as Godox, and rely on it to give you good exposure results in a range of conditions, means that the Nikon is miles ahead for fast-moving photography, such as weddings and such as events photography. Now, overall, the Pentax has better image quality, but there were some also issues with the image quality from the Pentax that I discovered in actual use. And those were the red and oranges, the skin tones mainly, in artificial light. The Pentax K1 oversaturated the skin tones and actually made the pictures look not very nice, and you had some more work to do in Photoshop and Capture One. The Nikon you can rely upon to give you better quality colour in artificial lighting. The colour in landscapes, in nature, and with natural light during the daytime, I actually prefer the Pentax. It's more natural, it looks better. But when you're photographing a range of subjects and in a range of lighting, the K1 doesn't compete very well with the Nikon. So while the flexibility and the speed of the Nikon actually made me use it more often, when I had the opportunity to photograph the Inception Bridge in Paris in the middle of the night and the Eiffel Tower, it's then that I actually reached for the Pentax. And it's not just the amazing image quality of the 36 megapixel sensor, especially with the pixel shift for the stationary subjects, that really makes the images shine, but it was also the lights on the camera, the tiltable LCD screen, and the range of other options built within the camera that make it more of a pleasure to use for stationary subjects. So overall, I'm using the Nikon more for things like weddings and events because it's faster. But when ultimate image quality is important and you have the time to make those photographs, to make the pleasure of photographing apparent, that's when I'm going to reach for the Pentax K1, because overall the image quality is a lot better. So after all of this, what I would say is that the Pentax K1, while I've been using the Nikon D610 a lot more, provides the image quality to make photography very pleasurable. And it's also very well designed in terms of photographers who do have the ability and do have the luxury of taking their time and going through the different options, who are maybe a little bit geeky, who enjoy having that control. But for professional work in a fast-moving environment, for example with photo documentary work, with weddings, with events, the Nikon and obviously the Canon as well are going to be a better option because they have that great amount of support. They have that heritage that is very, very fast and allows you to get photographs in a range of environments. And the main thing with this is the autofocus speed. So again, you had to look at the Sony cameras as well for that, and also the flexibility in terms of flash options. So image quality and value, I would still say that the Pentax K1 is the best camera that I've ever used, but for flexibility, I did find myself using the Nikon a lot more. So I hope that that's been a very useful professional look at the Pentax K1, and especially compared to the Nikon, the Canon, the Sony options that are also available for fast-moving work. And any questions that you have, any ideas that you may want to share, and any suggestions for future videos, please do share them with me in the comments below. Thanks so much. You can also have a look on my website, www englishphotographer.com. So while the flexibility and the speed of the Nikon made me use it more often, when I had the opportunity to photograph the Inception Bridge in the middle of the night, that's when I reached for the Pentax. And not just for the amazing image quality from that 36 megapixel sensor and the huge difference that pixel shift can make with stationary subjects, but it's also the range of lights on the camera, the tiltable LCD screen, and a few other Pentax features that just make using the camera. Wait, boys, come here! Come here! Sit down! Sit down! Stay there. Good boy. Stay there. So while the flexibility and the speed of the Nikon, you stay there.